let's take a pledge together that we are going to cover the entire audit before our November 2024 examination in a very effective and efficient manner. So let's get started. So without taking your and my time, let's directly proceed for the discussion part. So in this, today we are going to cover chapter number 1, that is the quality control. Alright, तो इसको छोटा कर देते हैं, इसका कोई मतलब नहीं है वैसे यहाँ. This is only the part कि हम सो ना गए हो audit पढ़ते पढ़ते. That is why. That is only the reason. So today we are going to start chapter number 1, that is the quality control. I have book as well as usual. इस चैप्टर में जो भी पढ़ना है, जो नहीं पढ़ना है, क्या क्या पढ़ना है, क्या इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्या नहीं इम्पोर्टेंट है, like always we are going to discuss. Learning outcomes क्या है? After studying this chapter, we all student will be able to gain the knowledge about the importance of audit quality की importance क्या है, understand the importance of quality control system in a firm. तो हमें क्या पढ़ने को मिलेगा? After studying this chapter, we all students will be able to gain the knowledge about the importance of audit quality. Audit quality की क्या importance है? Understand the importance of quality control system in a firm. What are the? We will be able to understand the importance of quality control system in a firm. क्या importance है quality control system की in a firm? Clarity मिलेगी हमें grasp import of SQC1 and SC220. We will apply the requirement of SQC1 and SC220 in practical situations. We will be able to understand the importance of ethics in engagements. Differentiate between SQC1 and SC220. We will be able to understand the relationship between SQC1 and SC220. Know briefly about the mechanism for review of audit quality. Then then comes the chapter overview, quality control. Chapter overview, quality control. फिर हमें क्या पढ़ने को मिलेगा? Quality control SQC1 और AC220. AC220 क्वालिटी कंट्रोल फॉर एन ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. कम पढ़ेंगे चलेगा, पर जितना पढ़े उतना समझ आना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. अभी भी ये पढ़े कि हाँ ठीक है पढ़ रहे हैं, समझ नहीं आ रहा है, तो फिर कुछ नहीं होने वाला एग्जाम में, हमें भी पता है. ऐसे 220 क्या होता है? क्वालिटी कंट्रोल फॉर एन ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. क्वालिटी कंट्रोल ऐसे 220 किस बारे में बात करता है? दैट इज क्वालिटी कंट्रोल क्या है फॉर एन ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. SQC1 quality control for firm that perform audit and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagement. CH जागृति जो है वो वर्क करी है इन अ फर्म चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट इन अ कैपेसिटी ऑफ पेड एम्प्लॉय की कैपेसिटी में वो काम कर रही है. The firm consists of 7 partners and is handling various type of professional work including audit. There is a heavy load of professional work on her and she handles few audit clients also. The firm business is growing rapidly and many new clients have been added to the client base of a firm in the past 2-3 years. In the hindsight, she is thinking whether it was proper on part of the firm to accept new clients without checking and verifying about their backgrounds. Besides, she also feels that firm is accepting audit of some companies which are engaged in technical and complex operation. The firm has no past experience for audit of such a client. The partner also seem to be stingy in hiring experienced and capable staff to handle such a work. In her mind, she always lamented about the same, our commercial consideration deciding an overriding factor she was brooding. Increase in volume of professional work without commensurate hiring of capable and qualified staff is leading to many lapses. She had handled audit of a listed company. The audit was completed, report issue and annual report published. She found to her horror that audit report issue under Companies Act 2013 referred to as profit in financial statement. However, audited financial statement reflected a loss. She developed cold feet and cursed lack of a proper quality control system in the firm. Similarly, in another case, she found that issue audit report of the company referred to cash flow statement, whereas audited financial statement did not comprise of cash flow statement as it was a small company with the meaning of Companies Act 2013. She had made up her mind to make senior partner listen to her, inviting attention to such serious lapses in reporting. She politely told her that firm was inviting troubles from regulators. She underlined need for a proper and effective quality control system in the firm to ensure that work was carried out in accordance with the professional standard and applicable legal and regulatory framework so that the audit report that is appropriate is issued. तो इसको हम एग्जाम टाइम पे पढ़ना नहीं है ऑब्वियसली, ये जो है ये हमने पढ़ा है अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए ताकि हम SQC 1 और से 220 के प्रोपोजल को थोड़ा और डिटेल में स्टडी कर पाए. अब आ जाते हैं हम ऑडिट क्वालिटी पे. हाई ऑडिट क्वालिटी इज अ सेंट्रल टू ऑडिटिंग प्रोफेशन. हाई ऑडिट क्वालिटी जो है दैट द सेम इज अ सेंट्रल है टू ऑडिटिंग प्रोफेशन. It helps in creating trust in users of financial information, industry, government, and public at large, who are the stake who relies upon assurance given by auditor. It is therefore necessary to ensure high audit quality throughout the audit process. Audit quality involves application of a rigorous audit process by auditor and quality control procedures that comply with laws, regulation, and applicable professional standards. SQC 1 quality control for firm that perform audit and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagement. And ऐसे 220 quality control for an audit of financial statement deal with the issue of establishing quality control system and responsibility of auditors in this regard. Both the standard deal with framework of audit quality. SQC 1 applies to all engagement and deals with quality at a level of firm. ऐसे 220 डील करता है विद ऑडिट क्वालिटी एट इंडिविजुअल ऑडिट एंगेजमेंट लेवल. तो हम क्या बोलते हैं कि ऑडिट क्वालिटी के अंदर क्या बात की जा रही है, दैट इज ऑडिट क्वालिटी. क्या बोला जा रहा है हमें, हाई ऑडिट क्वालिटी इज सेंट्रल है टू ऑडिटिंग प्रोफेशन. High audit quality is central to auditing profession. It helps in creating trust in users of financial information, industry, government, and public at large, who are the stakeholders who rely upon assurance given by the auditors. It is therefore necessary to ensure high audit quality throughout the audit process. Audit quality involves application of rigorous audit process by auditors and quality control procedures जो कि comply करेगी, तो किसके साथ comply करेगी, laws के साथ, regulation के साथ, applicable professional standards के साथ. SQC 1 quality control for firms that perform audit and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagement. And ऐसे 220 quality control for an audit of financial statement deal with issue of establishing quality control system and responsibility of auditor in this regard. Both the standard deal with framework of audit quality. SQC 1 applies to all the engagement and deals with quality at a level of firm. ऐसे 200 डील करता है विद ऑडिट क्वालिटी एट इंडिविजुअल एंड ऑडिट एंगेजमेंट लेवल. SQC 1 अप्लाई होता है सारी की सारी एंगेजमेंट पे. अगर कभी कोई डिफरेंस पूछ ले तो SQC 1 जो होता है वो अप्लाई होता है, अप्लाइज टू ऑल ऑडिटर्स, अप्लाइज टू ऑल एंगेजमेंट, अप्लाइज टू ऑल एंगेजमेंट्स एंड डील्स विद quality at level of firm. और ऐसे 220 डील करता है विथ at individual level, at individual audit engagement level. अब आता है हमारा डेट इज SQC 1. SQC 1 क्वालिटी कंट्रोल. हम क्या बोलते हैं, अब क्या है हमारा, डेट इज SQC 1 क्वालिटी कंट्रोल फॉर फर्म्स दैट परफॉर्म ऑडिट एंड रिव्यू ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन एंड अदर एश्योरेंस एंड रिलेटेड एंगेजमेंट. SQC 1 requires that the firm should establish a system of quality control designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply with professional standards and regulatory and legal requirements, and that reports issued by the firm or engagement partner are appropriate in the circumstances. Firm system of quality control should consist of policies designed to achieve this objective. Thus, quality control standards apply to all firms irrespective of their constitution. What are the elements of system of quality control? The firm system of quality control should include policies, procedures addressing each of the following elements. Leadership responsibility क्या है for quality within the firm? हम क्या बोलते हैं that what will be the leadership responsibility? Leadership responsibility क्या है? What will be the leadership responsibility for quality within the firms? What are the ethical requirements? Acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement, human resources, engagement, performance, and monitoring. Quality control policies and procedures should be documented and communicated to firms' personnel. By communicating, the firm recognizes the importance of obtaining feedback on its quality control system from its personnel. Therefore, the firm encourages its personnel to communicate their views or concern on quality control matters. What are the elements of system of quality control? के elements में क्या है? Leadership responsibility for quality within firm, ethical requirements, acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement, human resources, engagement, performance, monitoring. तो these are क्या है? These are the elements of system of quality control. ये सारे जो है वो elements है of system of quality control के. Ethical requirement, acceptance and a continuance of client relationship and specific engagement, human resources, engagement, performance, monitoring, leadership responsibility for quality within the firm. Leadership responsibility for quality within the firm. SQC1 requires firm to establish policies and procedures designed to promote an internal culture based on the recognition that quality is essential in performing engagement. Such policies and procedures should require the firm's chief executive officer or the firm's managing partners to assume ultimate responsibility for the firm's system of quality control. The examples set by the firm leadership encourage an inner culture that recognizes high quality audit work. Further, person assigned the operational responsibility for the firm's quality control system by the firm's chief executive officer or managing partner should have sufficient and appropriate experience, ability, and necessary authority to assume that responsibility. It has been laid down clearly that firm's business strategy is subject to overriding requirement for the firm to achieve quality in all the engagement that the firm performs. Essentially, it implies that audit quality is a paramount in all engagement. It is non-negotiable in this regard. It should be ensured that the firm assigns its management responsibility so that commercial consideration do not override the quality of work performed. The firm policy and procedure addressing performance evaluation, compensation, and the promotion, including incentive systems with regard to its personnel, are designed to demonstrate the firm's overriding commitment to quality. तो हम क्या बोलते हैं कि ये क्या है? What is this? Basically, the firm assigns its management responsibility. जो फर्म है वो असाइन करेगा उसकी मैनेजमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सो दैट कमर्शियल कंसिडरेशन डू नॉट ओवरराइड ना करे दी क्वालिटी. कमर्शियल कंसिडरेशन डू नॉट ओवरराइड द क्वालिटी ऑफ वर्क परफॉर्म. तो हम क्या बोलते हैं? द फर्म असाइन इट्स मैनेजमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सो दैट द कमर्शियल कंसिडरेशन डू नॉट ओवरराइड द क्वालिटी ऑफ वर्क परफॉर्म. The firm policies and procedure addressing performance evaluation, compensation, and promotion, including incentive system with regard to its personnel, are designed to demonstrate the firm's overriding commitment to quality. And the firm rewards sufficient resource for the development, documentation, and support of its quality control policies and procedures. तो अब हम आ जाते हैं about the टेस्ट योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग वाले क्वेश्चन में हम साइड बाय साइड कवर करते जाते हैं. बाद में करेंगे, वो दिन कभी आता नहीं. और अब तो एग्जाम आ गए, वो दिन पता नहीं कब आएगा. एबीसी एंड एसोसिएट चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट की पॉलिसी है कि वो एक्सेप्ट करे द क्लाइंट वेयर इन द रिस्क इवैल्यूएशन इज कंडक्टेड विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द कंपनी एंड द प्रमोटर. XYZ Limited approach, ABC and Associate. Promoter of XYZ Limited is a close associate and family friend of Mr. A, मैनेजिंग पार्टनर ऑफ एबीसी एंड एसोसिएट. क्वेश्चन क्या कह रहा है? एबीसी एंड एसोसिएट जो है वो एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स, एबीसी एंड एसोसिएट जो एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट फर्म है, उसकी पॉलिसी है कि वो एक्सेप्ट करेगी द क्लाइंट वेयर इन द रिस्क इवैल्यूएशन इज कंडक्टेड विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द कंपनी एंड द प्रमोटर. XYZ लिमिटेड अप्रोच, एबीसी एंड एसोसिएट. प्रमोटर ऑफ XYZ इज अ क्लोज एसोसिएट एंड फैमिली। जो प्रमोटर है XYZ के वो क्लोज एसोसिएट है और फैमिली फ्रेंड है मिस्टर ए के मैनेजिंग पार्टनर ऑफ ABC Associates. XYZ Limited is in the news in the previous year for certain inquiry from the regulatory authority in relation to certain matter. The existing auditor of XYZ Limited has resigned and has created a casual vacancy. XYZ Limited is ready to offer 25% more than the existing fee and approach ABC and Associate for appointment as auditor. Mr. A has a strong recommendation to the firm to accept the audit. What is your understanding of the functioning of the dawn at the top of the firm ABC and Associates Chartered Accountant firm? What are the considerations one should exercise to uphold the quality? What are the हम क्या बोलते हैं what are the considerations? What are the ऐसे कौन सी consideration है that one should exercise to uphold quality so that to uphold the quality of the firm? तो हमें टेस्ट योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग वाला जो क्वेश्चन है उसका फर्स्ट वाला आंसर हमें बताना है। जो हमने पढ़ा था उसका हमें आंसर बताना है। जो गिवन सिचुएशन है वो इंडिकेट करती है क्या, किस बारे में? जो गिवन सिचुएशन है वो इंडिकेट करती है कि जो प्रपोज क्लाइंट इज अ न्यू वन whose promoter is a close associate and family friend of managing partner of Messrs ABC and Associate. However, previous auditor of proposed client has resigned and company is offering hike in audit. कंपनी हमें हाइक देने की कोशिश करी, 25% मोर देंगे फीस देन जितना नॉर्मल लोगों को देते हैं इन ऑडिट फी इन कंपैरिजन टू ऑडिट फी पेड टू प्रीवियस ऑडिटर. Besides, there is also regulatory inquiry against the companies. In spite of all this, managing partner of firm Mr. A has recommended for acceptance of offered audit of the company. It reflects poorly regarding functioning at top of the firm as regard to the quality control. SQC1 required that firm should establish a system of quality control designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply with professional standards and legal and regulatory requirements. It further requires that firm business strategy is subject to overriding requirement of firm to achieve quality in all engagement. However, in the given situation, commercial consideration seems to be the overriding factor. The managing partner of firm is a close associate and family friend of promoter. The matter should have been brought to knowledge of firm in accordance with requirement of SQC1 as it involves issue of independence of managing partners of the firm with respect to proposed audit engagement. Further matter of inquiry from regulators and resignation of previous auditor raised question about integrity of the proposed client. SQC1 further required firm to consider before acceptance of an engagement that client does not lack integrity. All these factors need to be taken into consideration before accepting the engagement. Overall, such a situation reflects a lack of proper establishment of quality control framework at the top of the firm. Following considerations should be taken into account while upholding quality of firm. The firm assigning its management responsibility so that commercial consideration do not override quality of work performed. The firm assigning its management responsibility so that commercial consideration do not override quality of work performed. The firm policy, तो हम क्या बोलते हैं that the firm assigning its management responsibility. The firm assigning its management responsibility so that commercial consideration do not override quality of work performed. The firm policies and procedure in relation to its personnel are designed to demonstrate its overriding commitment to quality. The firm devotes sufficient resource for development and documentation of its quality control procedures, policies, and procedures. A firm before accepting an engagement should acquire vital information about the client. Such an information should help firm to decide about integrity of client, promoter, and key managerial personnel. Competence including capability, time, and resource to perform engagement and compliance with the ethical requirements. तो यहाँ पे हमने क्या सीखा कि क्वेश्चन सिनेरियो तो ये है, अगर हम इसको मैं दिखाने की कोशिश करूँ तो इट इज ऑन 27. क्वेश्चन तो हमें पता है कि क्वेश्चन क्या है, तो लेट्स मूव टू दिस आंसर. आंसर आई हैव ऑलरेडी रेड, बट फिर से समझने की कोशिश करते हैं कि इसमें क्या बात की है. हमें भी आंसर तो ऐसे ही लिखना है, तो हम देख लेते हैं, हम ये 4 पॉइंट भी लिखने होंगे दिस फोर. तो लेट्स सी कि हम इसको कैसे लर्न वगैरह कर रहे हैं. The given situation indicate that proposed client is a new one whose promoter is a close associate and family friend of managing partner of Messrs ABC and Associate. However, previous auditor of proposed client has resigned and company is offering hike in audit fee in comparison to audit fee paid to previous auditor. Besides, there are also regulatory inquiry against the company. In spite of all this, managing partner of firm Mr. A has recommended for acceptance of offered audit of the company. It reflects the poorly regarding functioning at top of the firm as regard to quality control. SQC1 required that firm should establish a system of quality control designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply with professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements. It further required that firm business strategy subject to overriding requirement of firm to achieve quality in all engagement. However, in the given situation, commercial consideration seems to be the overriding factor. The managing partner of a firm is a close associate and a family friend of promoter. The matter should have been brought to knowledge of firm in accordance with the requirement of SQC1 as it involves issue of independence of managing partner of the firm with respect to proposed audit engagement. Further matter of inquiry from regulators and resignation of previous auditor raised question about integrity of the proposed client. SQC1 further require firm to consider before acceptance of an engagement that client does not lack integrity. All these factors need to be taken into consideration before accepting the engagement. Overall, such a situation reflects the lack of proper establishment of quality control framework at the top of the firm. Following considerations should be taken into account while upholding the quality of the firm. The firm assigning its management. The firm is assigning its management responsibility so that commercial consideration do not override the quality of work performed. The firm assigning its management responsibility so that the commercial consideration do not override quality of work performed. The firm policies and procedure in relation to its personnel are designed to demonstrate its overriding commitment to quality. The firm devotes sufficient resource for development and documentation of its quality control policy and procedure. A firm before accepting an engagement should acquire vital information about the client. Such an information should help to decide about the integrity of a client, promoter and key managerial personnel. Competence including capability, time and resource to perform engagement and compliance with ethical requirements. Then आता है हमारा that is ethical requirements. The firm should establish policies and procedures designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply कर रहे हैं with relevant ethical requirement contained in the Code of Ethics issued by the ICA. The code establishes a fundamental principle of professional ethics which include integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. Fundamental principles should be emphasized by actions of the leadership of the firm, spreading awareness and training, monitoring, a process for dealing with non-compliance. Observance of independence in all engagement is the founding requirement. The firm should establish policies and procedures designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel, including experts contracted by the firm and network firm personnel, maintain independence where required by the code. Such policies and procedures should enable the firm to communicate its independence requirement to its personnel. Identify कीजिए, evaluate कीजिए circumstances and relationship that create threat to independence and to take appropriate action to eliminate those threats or reduce them to an acceptable level by applying safeguards or if considered appropriate to withdraw from the engagement. There should exist a mechanism in the firm by which engagement partners provide the firm with relevant information about client engagement and personnel of firm, promptly notify firm of circumstance and relationship that create a threat to independence. All breaches of independence should be promptly notified to firm for appropriate action. Its objective is to ensure that independence requirements are satisfied. At least annually, the firm should obtain written confirmation of compliance with its policies and procedure on independence from all firm personnel required to be independent in terms of requirements of the court. SQC-1 जो है that lays a special emphasis on familiarity threat. Using the same senior personnel on assurance engagement over a prolonged period may impair the quality of performance of the engagement. Therefore, the firm should establish criteria for determining the need for safeguard to address this threat. In determining the appropriate criteria, the firm considers such matter as the nature of the engagement, including the extent to which it involves a matter of public interest. The nature of engagement, including the extent to which it involves a matter of public interest, the length of service of the senior personnel on the engagement. Example of safeguards including rotating the senior personnel or requiring an engagement quality control review. The familiarity threat is particularly relevant in the context of financial statement audit of listed entities. For this audit, the engagement partner should be rotated after a predefined period. Normally not more than 7 years except in cases where audit of listed entities is conducted by sole practitioner. However, to ensure quality control exists in such a firm, an appropriate report are issued. There is a process for mandatory peer review of such a firms. M&P and Company, a firm of auditor, is appointed by a bank to conduct a stock audit of a borrower. It deputes one of its paid chartered accountant employee, Sudhanshu, to conduct about said stock audit. He leverages it as an opportunity to prevail upon the client to get the account audited from their firm. He also assures the client of a clean stock audit report without adverse comment as a quid pro quo. Is approach of Sudhanshu proper? How does it reflect upon quality control system of the firm? M&P and Company, a firm of auditor is appointed. M&P and Company जो firm है auditor की उसे appoint किया जा रहा है बैंक के द्वारा कि वो conduct करे stock audit of a borrower. It deputed one of its paid chartered accountant employee Sudhanshu to conduct above said stock audit. He leverages it as an opportunity to prevail upon the client to get the account audited from their firm. He also assured the client of a clean stock audit report without adverse comment as a quid pro quo. His approach of Sudhanshu proper? How does it reflect upon quality control system of firm? Acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement. हम क्या बोलते हैं that how there will be the case approach of Sudhanshu is not proper. He leverages it as an opportunity to prevail upon the client to get the account audited from their firm. He also assured the client of a clean stock audit report without adverse comment as a quid pro quo. Is approach of Sudhanshu proper? How does it reflect upon quality control system of a firm? Approach of Sudhanshu is not proper. Such a practice violate the code of ethics and its spirit. It reflects poorly upon quality control system of firm envisaged in SQC-1, which required that quality control policy and procedure should be documented and communicated to the firm personnel. It shows that firm personnel are not properly sanitized regarding requirement of SQC-1. Approach जो है सुधांशु का that the same is not proper. Approach of Sudhanshu is not proper. हम क्या बोल रहे हैं कि जो approach है सुधांशु का that the same is not proper. Such a practices blatantly violate the code of ethics and its spirit. Approach of Sudhanshu जो है that the same is not proper. वो proper नहीं है. Approach of Sudhanshu is not proper. Such a practice blatantly violate the code of ethics and its spirit. और ये क्या करी है ये जो चीजें है वो violate करी है code of ethics और spirit को. ये reflect कर रही है poorly upon quality control system of firm envisaged in SQC-1 which require that क्वालिटी कंट्रोल पॉलिसीज एंड प्रोसीजर्स शुड बी डॉक्यूमेंट किया जाए, कम्युनिकेट किया जाए टू द फर्म पर्सोनल। अप्रोच, हम क्या बोल रहे हैं कि जो अप्रोच यूज किया जा रहा है सुधांशु के द्वारा, दैट द सेम इज नॉट प्रॉपर। Approach of Sudhanshu is not proper. Such practice blatantly violate the code of ethics and its spirit. ये कोड ऑफ एथिक्स को वायलेट कर रही है, स्पिरिट को वायलेट कर रही है। ये रिफ्लेक्ट कर रही है पुअरली अपॉन quality control system of firm envisaged in SQC1, which required that quality control policy and procedure should be documented and communicated to the firm personnel. It shows that firm personnel are not properly sanitized regarding the requirement of SQC1 जो है वो प्रॉपर्टी तरीके से नहीं हो रहा है। देन आते हैं हम relating to the acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement। हम क्या बोल रहे हैं that how there will be the acceptance and continuance of client relationship, acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement। A firm before accepting an engagement should acquire vital information about the client. Such an information should help firm to decide about integrity of client, promoter and key managerial personnel, competence including capability, time and resource to perform engagement, compliance with ethical requirements, acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement। हम क्या बोलते हैं that how there will be the acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement। A firm before accepting an engagement should acquire the vital information about the client. Such information should help the firm to decide about integrity of client, promoter and key managerial personnel, competence including capability, time and resource to perform engagement and compliance with ethical requirement। The firm should obtain, firm को क्या करना चाहिए, that the same should obtain such information as it considered necessary in the circumstances before accepting an engagement with a new client, when deciding whether to continue an engagement, existing engagement, and when considering acceptance of a new engagement with an existing client. Where issue have been identified and the firm decide to accept or continue the client relationship or a specific engagement, it should document how the issue was resolved. With regard to the integrity of client, matter that the firm considered include, for example, the identity and business reputation of clients, principal, owners, key management, related party, and those charged with its governance. The nature of client's operation, including its business practices. Information concerning the attitude of client, principal, owners, key management, and those charged with governance towards such a matter as aggressive interpretation or accounting standard and the internal control environment. Whether the client is aggressively concerned with maintaining the firm fee as low as possible, कि client जो है aggressively concerned है with maintaining the firm fees as low as possible, indications of inappropriate limitation in the scope of work, indication that the client might be involved in money laundering or other criminal activities। तो ये सब किसके अंदर आता है, acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement। जो भी चीजें बुलेट पॉइंट में दी है वो वहां से क्वेश्चन ड्राफ्ट भी होता है और हमें लिखने भी बुलेट पॉइंट्स ही होते हैं, तो बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है वो वाला पार्ट। विद रिगार्ड टू इंटीग्रिटी, तो हम क्या बोलते हैं, इंटीग्रिटी ऑफ क्लाइंट, प्रमोटर एंड की मैनेजरल पर्सोनल, competence including capability, time and resource to perform engagement, compliance with ethical requirement। With regard to integrity of a client, matter that the firm considers include, for example, the identity of business, reputation of client, principal, owners, key management, related party, and those charged with its governance. The nature of client operation, including its business practices, information concerning the attitude of client, principal, owners, key management, and those charged with its governance towards such a matter as aggressive interpretation of accounting standards and the internal control environment. Whether the client is aggressively concerned with maintaining the firm fee as low as possible, indication of an inappropriate limitation in the scope of work, indication that the client might be involved in money laundering or other criminal activities, indication that the reason for the proposed appointment of the firm and known reappointment of the previous firm. The extent of knowledge a firm will have regarding the integrity of client will generally grow within the context of ongoing relationship with the client. In considering whether the firm has the capability, competence, time and resource to undertake an engagement, following matter have to be taken into consideration. Firm personnel have knowledge of relevant industry or subject matter. फर्म पर्सोनल हम क्या बोलते हैं, अगर फर्म पर्सोनल के पास नॉलेज हो किसके बारे में, in considering whether the firm has the capability, competence, time and resource to undertake an engagement, following matter have to be taken into consideration. फर्म पर्सोनल हैव नॉलेज ऑफ रेलेवेंट इंडस्ट्री और सब्जेक्ट मैटर. अगर फर्म पर्सोनल के पास नॉलेज हो रेलेवेंट इंडस्ट्री और सब्जेक्ट मैटर्स का. फर्म पर्सोनल हैव एक्सपीरियंस विद रेलेवेंट रेगुलेटरी और रिपोर्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट और द एबिलिटी टू गेन द नेसेसरी स्किल्स एंड नॉलेज इफेक्टिवली. The firm has sufficient personnel with the necessary capabilities and competence. अगर फर्म के पास sufficient personnel हो, necessary capabilities and competence. Experts are available if needed. Experts जो है वो available हो if अगर जरूरत हो तो. Meeting the criteria and eligibility requirement to perform engagement quality control review are available where applicable. The firm would be able to complete the engagement within the reporting deadline. If there is any conflict of interest between the firm and the client, it should be properly resolved before accepting the engagement. Where the firm obtain information that would have caused it to decline an engagement if that information has been obtainable earlier. Policy and procedure on the continuance of the engagement and the client relationship should include consideration of the professional and legal responsibility that apply to the circumstances, including whether there is a requirement for the firm to report to the person or person who made the appointment, or in some cases to regulatory authorities. The possibility of withdrawing from the engagement or from both the engagement and the client relationship. Oh God. Now moving to the next one, that is policy and procedure. I know this is totally the plain reading of from the study material, but ये भी जरूरी है because when we approach for revising the content तो हमें easily चीजें learn नहीं हो पाती. हम एक चीज को 10 बार पढ़ते हैं, उसका रट्टा मारते हैं तो हमें इतना क्विकली लर्न नहीं होता है. समझ तो आ जाता है तो हम इसको समझ रहे ताकि हमें लर्न जल्दी हो जाए. बस दिस इज ओनली रीजन. अदरवाइज लर्न तो करना ही पड़ेगा. नो ऑल्टरनेटिव. Policy and procedure on withdrawal from an engagement or from the engagement or from both the engagement. Policy and procedure on withdrawal from an engagement or from both the engagement and the client relationship address issue that includes the following. Discussing with the appropriate level of the client's management and those charged with its governance regarding the appropriate action that the firm might take based on the relevant facts and circumstances. If the firm determined that it is appropriate here to withdraw, discussing with the appropriate level of client management and those charged with its governance, withdrawal from the engagement or from both the engagement and the client relationship and the reason for the withdrawal. Considering whether there is a professional, regulatory or legal requirement for the firm to remain in a place or for the firm to report the withdrawal from the engagement or from both the engagement and the client relationship together with the reason for withdrawal to regulatory authority. Documenting significant issue, consultations, conclusion and the basis for the conclusion. Now comes the test your understanding part number 3. CAM is introduced to a prospective client in a social function. He is sure to visit office of CAM very soon. CAM is introduced to prospective client in a social function. He is sure to visit office of CAM very soon in relation to professional work. During discussion over a cup of coffee next week, it transpires that there was a search by enforcement director in his premises about a month back, resulting in recovery of huge sum of cash. The income tax department has also searched his premises in relation to bogus capital gain on penny stocks. Lamenting poor quality of service provided by his present auditor, he offered appointment as tax auditor of his 5 family-owned firm to CAM in lieu of handsome fee. What are the factors to be evaluated by CAM if he want to take up the engagement? तो वो क्या चीजें चेक करेगा? As per SQC1, before accepting a new engagement, integrity of client should be considered, including matters that indicate involvement in money laundering or criminal activities. As per SQC1 क्या बोलता है? Before accepting a new engagement, जब कभी भी आप एक new engagement accept करते हो तो आप देखिए what will be the integrity of client. इंटीग्रिटी की होगी क्लाइंट की शुड बी कंसिडर्ड इंक्लूडिंग मैटर दैट इंडिकेट इन्वॉल्वमेंट. क्या वो इन्वॉल्व तो नहीं है मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग में या क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटीज में इन्वॉल्व तो नहीं है. देयर हैज बीन अ सर्च ऑफ ईडी ऑन द सेड पार्टी लीडिंग टू रिकवरी ऑफ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ कैश. The above coupled with action of income tax department relating to bogus capital gain on penny stock indicate that client might be involved in money laundering activity. Therefore, offer should not be accepted. So, therefore, it should not be accepted. देन आता है हमारा डेट इज द ह्यूमन रिसोर्स. The firm should establish policies and procedures designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that it has sufficient personnel with the capabilities, competence, and commitment to ethical principles necessary to perform its engagement in accordance with professional standards and regulatory and legal requirements, and to enable the firm or engagement partner to issue reports that are appropriate in the circumstances. Such policy and procedure should address relevant HR issues including recruitment, compensation, training, career development, performance evaluation, etc. There should be the emphasis on the continuing professional development of firm's personnel. The firm should assign responsibility for each engagement to an engagement partner. The firm should establish policy and procedure requiring that the identity and role of the engagement partner are communicated to key members of the client management and those charged with governance. The engagement partner has the appropriate capability, competence, authority, and time to perform the role, and the responsibility of engagement partner are clearly defined and communicated to that partner. Each engagement team should be able to carry out its responsibility with necessary competence and skill. Therefore, the firm should ensure suitable people are available and also groom them for their role. The firm should assess the performance of their partner and team members, keeping in mind their commitment towards quality. Then आता है हमारा engagement performance. Consistency and quality of engagement performance is achieved through briefing of engagement teams of their objective processes for complying with engagement standard, processes of engagement supervision and training, methods of reviewing performance of work, appropriate documentation of work performed. Consultation in difficult or contentious matters. Consultation should take place in difficult or contentious matter pertaining to an engagement. Consultation include discussion at the appropriate professional level with the individual within or outside the firm who have specialized expertise to resolve a difficult or contentious matter. It helps to promote quality and improve the application of professional judgment. Consultation procedure require consultation with those having appropriate knowledge, seniority, and experience within the firm or outside the firm on significant technical, ethical, and other matters, and appropriate documentation and implementation of conclusion resulting from consultations. A firm needing to consult externally, for example, a firm without appropriate internal resources may take advantage of advisory service provided by their firm or professional and regulatory body. Complete and proper documentation should be maintained on issue involved and result of consultation. Then आता है हमारा engagement quality control review. Significant judgment made in an engagement should be reviewed by the engagement quality control reviewer for taking an objective view before the report is issued. The extent of review depends on the complexity of engagement and the risk that the report might not be appropriate in the circumstances. The view does not reduce the responsibility of the engagement partner. Engagement quality control review is mandatory for all audit of financial statement of listed entity. In respect of other engagement, firm should devise criteria to determine cases requiring performance of engagement quality control review. An engagement quality control review for audit of financial statement of listed entity include considering the following. The engagement team evaluation of the firm independence in relation to specific engagement. An engagement An engagement quality control review करता है for audit of financial statement of listed entity include considering the following. एक engagement quality control जो है वो review करता है. engagement quality control जो है तो same review करता है for audit of financial statement of listed entities includes considering the following. The engagement team evaluation of the firm independence in relation to the specific engagement. Significant risk identified during the engagement and the responses to those risks. Judgment made particularly with respect to significant risk. Whether appropriate consultation has taken place on matter involving the differences of opinion or other difficult or contentious matter and the conclusion arising from those consultation. The significance and disposition of corrected and uncorrected misstatement identified during the engagement. The matter to be communicated to management and those charged with governance and where applicable other parties such as regulatory bodies. Whether working papers selected for review reflect the work performed in relation to significant judgment and support the conclusion reached. The appropriateness of the report to be issued. Engagement quality control reviewer is a partner other person in a firm who should be member of ICI. Suitably qualified external person or a team made up of such individual. In this regard, suitably qualified external person refers to an individual outside the firm with their capability and competence to act as an engagement partner. For example, a partner or an employee with appropriate experience of another firm. In addition, the engagement quality control reviewer for an audit of the financial statement of listed entity is an individual with sufficient and appropriate experience and authority to act as an audit engagement partner on audit of financial statement of the listed entity. It is necessary to maintain objectivity of such a reviewer. Therefore, participation in the engagement or making decision for engagement team is to be avoided at all costs. Engagement or making decision for engagement team is to avoid it at all cost. However, engagement partner may consult engagement quality control reviewer during the engagement so as not to compromise his objectivity and eligibility to perform the role. Where the nature and extent of the consultation becomes significant, however, care is taken by both the engagement team and the reviewer to maintain the reviewer objectivity. Where this is not possible, another individual within the firm or suitably qualified external person is appointed to take on the role of either the engagement quality control reviewer or the person to be consulted on the engagement. The firm policy should provide for the replacement of engagement quality control reviewer where the ability to perform an objective review may be impacted. अगर differences हो जाते हैं in the opinion, there might be difference of opinion within the engagement team with those consultant and between engagement partner and engagement quality control review. The report should only be issued after resolution of such a differences. In case recommendation of engagement quality control reviewers are not accepted by engagement partner and matter is not resolved to reviewer satisfaction. The matter should be resolved by the following established procedure of firm, like by consulting with another practitioner or firm or professional or regulatory body. Engagement documentation. The firm should establish policies and procedure for engagement team to complete the assembly of final engagement file on a timely basis after the engagement report have been finalized. Engagement file should be completed in not more than 60 days after date of auditor's report in case of audit engagement, and in other cases within the limit appropriate to engagement. Where two or more different reports are issued in respect of same subject matter information of an entity, the firm policy procedure relating to time limits for the assembly of final engagement file should be considered for each report as if it were for a separate engagement. This may, for example, be the case when the firm issue an auditor's report on a component's financial information for group consolidation purposes, and at a subsequent date an auditor's report on the same financial information for statutory purposes. Policy and procedures जो होती है that should be designed to maintain the confidentiality, safe custody, integrity, accessibility, retrievability of engagement documentation. Care should be taken that policy and procedure on documentation of engagement quality control review should require documentation that the procedure required by the firm policies on engagement quality control review have been performed. The engagement quality control have been completed before the report is issued, and the reviewer is not aware of any unresolved matter that would cause the reviewer to believe that the significant judgment the engagement team made and the conclusion they reached were not appropriate. Unless otherwise specified by law or regulation, engagement documentation is a property of firm. The firm may at its discretion make portion of or extract from engagement documentation available to client, provided such a disclosure does not undermine the validity of the work performed, or in case of assurance engagement, the independence of the firm or its personnel. Engagement documentation has to be retained for a period of time sufficient to permit those performing monitoring procedures to evaluate the firm compliance with its system of quality control for a longer period if required by law or regulation. In a specific case of audit engagement, the retention period is no shorter than 7 years than आता है हमारा monitoring. The firm should ensure that policy and procedure relating to the system of quality control are relevant, adequate, operating effectively, and complied with in practice. Such policy and procedure should include an ongoing consideration and evaluation of firm system of quality control, including a periodic inspection of a selection of completed engagement. Quality control of engagement has to be monitored, taking into account the following factors. Deciding whether the quality control system of the firm has been appropriately designed and effectively implemented. Decide कीजिए क्या जो क्वालिटी कंट्रोल सिस्टम है फर्म का क्या वो appropriately डिजाइन है, effectively implemented है या नहीं. डिसाइड कीजिए, आप बताइए क्या जो क्वालिटी कंट्रोल सिस्टम है फर्म का क्या वो appropriately डिजाइन है, क्या वो effectively implemented है. एग्जामिन कीजिए क्या जो न्यू डेवलपमेंट है इन द प्रोफेशनल स्टैंडर्ड, लीगल एंड रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट क्या वो रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहे हैं, क्या वो have been reflected in the quality control policy. Conducting monitoring by entrusting responsibility of monitoring process to a partner or other person with sufficient and appropriate experience and authority in the firm. Deal कीजिए आप with the complaints and allegation against a firm or any employee of it of known compliance with professional standards or appropriate regulatory requirements by a person within or outside the firm. Taking appropriate remedial action against the personnel who did not conform to quality control policies. Taking action when deficiency in a design or operation of firm quality control policy and procedure or known compliance with the firm system of quality control are designed. ऐसे 220 बोलता है क्वालिटी कंट्रोल फॉर एन ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. तो अब हम आ गए ऐसे 220 पे. इतनी देर हम सारा वो एथिकल रिक्वायरमेंट्स एंड ऑल एलिमेंट्स सिस्टम ऑफ क्वालिटी कंट्रोल में हमने पढ़ा तो क्या है पहले हमने लीडरशिप रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फॉर क्वालिटी विद इन द फर्म में क्या क्या होता है वो पढ़ा. देन हमने एथिकल रिक्वायरमेंट भी पढ़ा, एक्सेप्टेंस एंड कंटिन्यूएंस भी पढ़ा, उसमें पॉइंट्स थे बहुत सारे. ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज का भी पढ़ा. देन हमने एंगेजमेंट परफॉर्मेंस का भी पढ़ा है. ओके, मॉनिटरिंग का भी पढ़ लिया है. देन उसके बाद हम आए, सब में बुलेट पॉइंट्स तो हमें लर्न करने पड़ेंगे स्टडी मटेरियल के. अब उस बुलेट पॉइंट को हम किस तरीके से कोई फैकल्टी हमें लर्न करा दे, बस वो हमें वीडियो ढूंढना पड़ेगा थोड़ा, बाकी हमें लर्न तो करना ही पड़ेगा. फिर आता है हमारे ऐसे 220 क्वालिटी कंट्रोल फॉर एन ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. Based upon quality control system of firm, quality control policy pertaining to audit engagement are decided by engagement team. Engagement partner of a team is responsible for quality control procedures of a particular audit engaged in accordance with SA 220. Therefore, SA 220 is premised on the basis that the firm is subject to SQC-1. Within the context of firm system of quality control, engagement team have a responsibility to implement the quality control procedure that are applicable to the audit engagement and provide the firm with relevant information to enable the functioning of that part of firm system of quality control relating to independence. Engagement teams are entitled to rely on the firm system of quality control unless information provided by the firm or other party suggests otherwise. As per SA 220, the objective of the auditor is to implement the quality control procedures at the engagement level that provide the auditor with reasonable assurance that the audit complies with professional standards and regulatory and legal requirement. कि audit जो है वो comply कर रहा है किन चीज़ों के साथ, जो ऑडिट है वो कंप्लाई कर रहा है प्रोफेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स के साथ, रेगुलेटरी एंड लीगल रिक्वायरमेंट्स के साथ. ऑडिटर रिपोर्ट इशू इज एप्रोप्रिएट है इन द सर्कमस्टेंसेस. AC 220 is modeled on a line of SQC-1 that describes the responsibility of engagement partner in relation to following matter. Leadership responsibility क्या है for quality on audit, relevant ethical requirement, acceptance and, तो ये किसके अंदर आता है, हम क्या बोलते हैं, leadership responsibility क्या है for quality on audits, relevant ethical requirement, acceptance and continuance of client relationship and audit engagement, assignment of audit engagement team, engagement performance and monitoring. अब हमारा फिर से हम थोड़ा डिटेल डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं रिलेटिंग टू दी लीडरशिप रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फॉर क्वालिटी ऑन ऑडिट. पहले जो हमने डिस्कशन किया था वो SQC-1 के रिकॉर्ड में किया था. अब हम इसमें क्या लिखा है पहले पढ़ते हैं और फिर देखते हैं कि कितना समझ आता है. लीडरशिप रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ एन एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर is to take responsibility for the overall quality on each audit engagement. The action of the engagement partner and appropriate messages to the other members of the engagement team in taking responsibility for the overall quality on each audit engagement emphasize the leadership responsibility for quality on audit. The importance to audit quality, the fact that quality is essential in performing the audit engagement. Performing work that complies with professional standard, regulatory and legal requirements. Complying with the firm's quality control policy and procedure as applicable. Issuing auditors report that are appropriate in the circumstances and the engagement team ability to raise concern without fear of reprisals. तो हम क्या बोलते हैं that what will be the leadership responsibility क्या होगी for quality on audit, what the importance to audit quality and the fact that quality is essential in performing audit engagement. Performing work that complies with professional standard, regulatory and legal requirements. Complying with the firm's quality control policy procedures applicable. Issuing auditor report that are appropriate in the circumstances and the engagement team's ability to raise concern without fear of reprisals. The importance to audit quality, performing work that complies with professional standards and regulatory and legal requirements. Complying with the firm's quality control policy and procedures as applicable. Issuing auditors report that are appropriate in the circumstances and the engagement team ability to raise concern without the fear of reprisals. The fact that quality is essential in performing the audit engagement. What are the relevant ethical requirements? The responsibility of engagement partner in relation to ethical requirement in an audit of engagement are as under. Identifying a threat to independence regarding the audit engagement that safeguard may not be able to eliminate or reduce to an acceptable level. Reporting by engagement partner to the relevant person within the firm to determine appropriate action. which may include eliminating the activity or interest that create the threat or withdrawing from the audit engagement where withdrawal is legally permitted. Then आता है हमारा acceptance and continuance of client relationship and audit engagement. The responsibility of an engagement partner in this regard in an audit engagement is on the line of SQC1, which require the firm should obtain such information as that considered necessary in the circumstances before accepting an engagement with a new client, when deciding whether to continue an existing engagement, and when considering acceptance of a new engagement with a firm existing clients. हम क्या बोल रहे हैं that how there will be the acceptance and continuance of a client relationship and audit engagement. The responsibility of engagement partner in this regard in an audit engagement is on the line of SQC1, which require the firm should obtain such information as it considered necessary in the circumstances before accepting an engagement with a new client, when deciding whether to continue an existing engagement, and when considering of a new engagement with an existing client. Information like integrity of principal owners, competence of engagement team, and consideration of necessary capability including time and resource, compliance with relevant ethical requirement, and significant matter arising during current or previous audit engagement and their implication assist the engagement partner in determining that whether the conclusion reached regarding the acceptance and continuance of client relationship and audit engagements are appropriate. Assignment हम क्या बोलते हैं that how there will be the assignment of the engagement teams. It should be ensured by engagement partner that the engagement team and any auditors expert who are not the part of the engagement team collectively have the appropriate competence and capability to perform the engagement in accordance with professional standards and regulatory and legal requirements. Then आता है हमारा that what will be the engagement performance. Engagement partner has the responsibility for direction, supervision, and performance of audit engagement in accordance with the professional standards and regulatory and legal requirement. He is responsible for auditor's report being appropriate in circumstances. For the review of audit documentation before issue of report is his responsibility. It has to be ensured that sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been obtained to support the conclusion reached and for issuance of audit report. Engagement partner is also responsible for ensuring undertaking appropriate consultation on difficult or contentious matters by engagement team, not only within the team but also with others at appropriate level within or outside the firm. Engagement quality control review for audit of financial statement of listed entity and those of other audit engagement. If any for which the firm has determined that an engagement quality control review is required, the engagement partner shall determine that an engagement quality control reviewer has been appointed. Discuss the significant matters arising during the audit engagement, including those identified during the engagement quality control review with the engagement quality control reviewer. Not a date the auditor's report until the completion of engagement quality control review. The engagement quality control reviewer shall perform an objective evaluation of the significant judgment made by the engagement team and the conclusion reached in formulating the auditor's report. And this evaluation shall involve discussion क्या होगा कैसे discussion होगा significant matter with the engagement partner. Review of the financial statement and the proposed auditor's report. Review of selected audit documentation relating to the significant judgment the engagement team made and the conclusion it reached. An evaluation of the conclusion reached in formulating the auditor's report and consideration of whether the proposed auditor report is appropriate. For audit of financial statement of listed entity, the engagement quality control reviewer on performing an engagement quality control review shall also consider the following. The engagement क्या